Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to meeting number 592, Town of Grand Falls Windsor Council. Before we get into the regular order of business, there are a number of proclamations that I'll read into the record, starting with Fibromyalgia Awareness Day, May 12, 2024. Whereas Fibromyalgia Awareness Day aims to raise awareness and end the stigma and discrimination that accompany this chronic illness. Whereas Fibromyalgia Association Canada is the only national organization in Canada that supports only fibromyalgia. And whereas fibromyalgia affects about 5% of Canada's population, over 2 million men, women, and children of all ages and races in Canada are afflicted with this chronic illness. And whereas fibromyalgia often takes an average of 3 to 5 years to diagnose. And whereas there is no known cause of, prevention of, or cure of fibromyalgia. And whereas fibromyalgia is a complex illness whose symptoms vary widely and may include debilitating chronic pain, overwhelming fatigue, and cognitive impairment. And whereas patients with fibromyalgia often have a number of coexisting conditions, which may include chronic myofascial pain, IBS, TMJ, environmental sensitivities, anxiety, and depression. And whereas fibromyalgia greatly reduces quality of life, can cause total disability, and also affects families, friends, and employers. Living with chronic pain and fatigue on a daily basis can lead to social isolation. So it is important for sufferers and their families, friends, and caregivers to know that they're not alone. And whereas people with fibromyalgia have a right to be treated with dignity and have a right to pain relief. And whereas together we will find ways to enhance the quality of our lives for people afflicted with fibromyalgia and together find a cure. Now therefore I, Barry Manuel, on behalf of the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor, do hereby proclaim May 12, 2024 as Fibromyalgia Awareness Day in the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor. And I call on this observance to the attention of all our citizens. Next is the Heart Failure Awareness Week, Proclamation 2024. Whereas Canadian Heart Failure Awareness Week is marked across Canada to raise awareness of the causes of heart failure and the impact it has on individuals living with heart failure and their caregivers. Whereas there are nearly 800,000 people in Canada living with heart failure, which affects people of all ages. Whereas people with heart failure experience debilitating symptoms such as shortness of breath, swelling, and exhaustion. Whereas people caring for those with heart failure are often overwhelmed and stressed. Whereas heart failure is expected to cost Canada $2.8 billion per year by 2030. Whereas Heart Failure Awareness Week was initiated by the Canadian Heart Failure Society, an organization of health professionals and patients, in collaboration with the Heart and Stroke Foundation of Canada, Canadian Cardiovascular Society, Canadian Council of Cardiovascular Nurses, Canadian Association of Cardiovascular Prevention and Rehabilitation, Canadian Heart Function Alliance, Heart Life Foundation, and Ted Rogers Centre for Heart Research. Whereas Canadian Heart Failure Awareness Week is now celebrated across Canada as a time dedicated to improving awareness and education on heart failure for people of Newfoundland and Labrador and all Canadians. Now we know that, and we do proclaim that the May the 5th to 11th, 2024 shall be known as Heart Failure Awareness Week in the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor. Okay, next one is it's Municipal Awareness Week, May 5th to the 11th, and I'm sure we'll hear a little about that in our meeting tonight. The proclamation, it says, whereas municipal government is responsible for the provision of services that enhance the quality of life of its citizens, and whereas dedicated mayors, councillors, and staff are essential for the effective governance of their municipalities, and whereas collaboration, partnerships, and citizen involvement are essential for active, sustainable, and vibrant communities, and whereas it is fitting and proper to recognize and encourage the contribution of all who work diligently for the improvement of our municipalities. Therefore, be it proclaimed that May 5th to the 11th be known as Municipal Awareness Week in municipalities of Newfoundland and Labrador in recognition of the vital role of municipal government and in recognition of all those efforts that support it. So I do declare that May 5th to the 11th, Municipal Awareness Week in the town of Grand Falls-Windsor. A lot of municipalities and fibromyalgias. Okay, one more to go. There's an extra one of these. Oh, we got another one. There we go. And the last proclamation is for World Ovarian Cancer Day, May 8th, 2024. Whereas ovarian cancer has no early detection testing, and whereas ovarian cancer symptoms are often confused with less other severe illnesses, and whereas ovarian cancer has the lowest survival rate of all female cancers, and whereas as many as 23% of women with ovarian cancer have an inherited genetic mutation, and whereas genetic testing is a way to identify people at high risk before they develop ovarian cancer. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Barry Manuel, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, May the 8th as World Ovarian Cancer Day. I encourage all citizens of the town of Grand Falls-Windsor and the province to talk to their health providers about ovarian cancer and seek to learn more about the disease. Okay. So with that, I'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is the adoption of the minutes from meeting number 591. Any errors or omissions? Hearing none, I'll look for a mover and a seconder. Councillor Cody, second by Councillor Hiscock. Any discussion on the previous minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Any business arising out of the minutes? No business arising. We'll move on to the disbursement report. Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the disbursement report dated April 30th, 2024 in the amount of $494,029.04.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Knoll. Any discussion on the disbursement report? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Committee reports. First up is Public Works and Development. Councillor Cody, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works and Development met on Wednesday, April 24th at 5 p.m. In attendance, myself as the chairperson, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Andrew Little, Councillor Dave Noel. Staff, Darren Finn, Chief Administrative Officer, Robin Hannaford, Communications Officer, and Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Development. Water quality. The committee was updated on the calls received for discolored water. Over the last couple of weeks, there was only one call received, and water samples around town have been good. Staff continues to monitor Bishop Street closely as this continues to have issues, and there has been regular ongoing flushing. In addition, final quotes have been received for the flushing valves and are now being ordered. Capital Works. The committee was presented with a list of streets to be considered for the 2024 street resurfacing project that has $1 million in Capital Works funding. Other projects outside of this funding that have previously been approved are the Church Road Park repaving and upgrades to Grenfell Heights Extension. The town also has close to $2 million of unallocated funds from the multi-year Capital Works 2023 to 2026 agreement, and staff provided a list of projects for consideration for water and sewer upgrades. There is a long list of available projects that need attention. However, funding is only available for one of these to be completed under the current agreement. The committee recommends the street resurfacing project be discussed at a future meeting to provide more time for the committee to review. Also, the committee recommends the replacement of water and storm infrastructure on Circular Road from Union Street to High Street be completed with the available funding. This will complete the upgrades on Circular Road, one of the oldest sections of water line in the town. Orthophosphate. The committee was updated on the design work for the orthophosphate addition at the water treatment plant. The design is not completed, but preliminary estimates for construction are in the range of $700,000. This addition will help reduce the discolored water issues in the town and extend the life of the current infrastructure by reducing the corrosion of the pipeline. The committee recommends staff use the latest drawings and estimate to seek funding from government agencies to get this project completed, as it is of the highest priority. Roundabout design. The committee reviewed bids for the design work of a single lane roundabout for the Queensway Toulet Drive intersection near Action Truck Caps and Accessories Limited. This intersection has had accidents and near misses in the past, and with additional residential developments proposed in the area, traffic volume will increase. This proposed roundabout will provide safe passage for vehicular and pedestrian traffic. The lowest acceptable bid is from Harborside Engineering at $43,000 plus HST. The committee recommends this be awarded to Harborside Engineering. New cemetery location. The committee discussed the need for a new interfaith cemetery location within town limits. The new location will have to meet the immediate needs of the town, along with a lot of room to grow. The committee recommends staff research some proposed areas and bring back to a future committee meeting for discussion. Our meeting adjourned at 7:10 p.m., and I move the recommendations and report of the committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody, second by Councillor Dwyer. Any discussion on the Public Works minutes? Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Just with respect to Capital Works, talking about the $2 million of unallocated funds from the multi-year capital. So we have $2 million in shared funding to do projects. We are getting, the town of Grand Falls-Windsor receives the same amount of money in multi-year capital as we did 10 years ago. And yet our costs have increased significantly, somewhere around 30%.
At least.
Yep, and you know, for us to do the work that even was anticipated a couple of years ago was much more costly than it was back then. And I would say, Nelson, correct me if I'm wrong, but we probably have $100 million worth of projects or more to complete. And so we're trying to do our best in determining where to put their $2 million. And it's not easy, for sure. Thank you.
No, for sure. You know, it's, I don't know how government expects municipalities to keep up and to continue to download responsibilities, financial and otherwise, to municipalities if they're not going to get more funding to help. And as you mentioned, 100 million, I would think that's an underestimate. If you really looked around town and said, you know, as an example, a roundabout. So we're talking about a roundabout by Honda, dearly needed. There's probably 3 or 4 other intersections for sure that we'd love to have roundabouts, but they probably come at about $1 million each. We get 2 million. So, you know, just right there, and that's expected to do your water and sewer, your paving, your paving, you could get some gas tax money, but that's less than $1 million usually. And the bottom line is we just don't have the kind of money that we need to keep up. And all municipalities that I know are in the same situation. So we need to collectively put pressure on government, and I know they're hurting for dollars as well. But if your infrastructure is slowly failing, there's going to be problems, and we have to act now and not when things start falling apart altogether, as they say. Okay, anybody else comments on Public Works? Councillor Cody.
Just to elaborate a little bit on that too, on the pricing. I mean, you look at $700,000 to implement the orthophosphate system, which is basically a an action that we're taking to extend the life of our already aged pipes that are underground. So, you know, I mean, this'll give us some time, but again, 10 years receiving $2 million, that's 10 extra years of aging on our infrastructure, and costs have gone through the roof. So $700,000 to, you know, for orthophosphate, it'll make a difference. It'll you know, it'll be significant change, we hope, so the studies are telling us. But again, it's not fixing the problem. It's not replacing old infrastructure with new infrastructure. It's just extending the life of the existing infrastructure. So, and just, you know, again, it's all about money, and we do what we can. So it's encouraging to see that the water quality is improving. The work that we've done has made some significant changes and improvements for residents who were experiencing trouble with discolored water. And we continue, again, like it says in the minutes, to monitor the Bishop Street area. And as well with the flushing valves. I think it was it 6 or 8 flushing valves?
7, was it 8? No, 8, I think.
Yeah, 8 flushing valves. So, you know, they'll make a difference as well. That'll just kind of streamline the process of the flushing a little more and make sure that the pressure is off and regulate it, I guess, is the right word to say. So, you know, a lot of money being spent just in water alone, and that's just water.
Yeah.
Like I said, doesn't cover everything else that we're working on, and
No,
that
and-
needs replacement or repair.
And that can go on, because you talk about the water treatment plant, $700,000 for the orthophosphate, but we've identified another $15 million just on the water treatment plant alone, with capital improvements within, and of course the road. New Bay Road is an absolute disaster. It belongs to the province. It's up to the province to repair, replace. And if you look at that stretch of road from Grenfell Heights to the water treatment plant, you're looking at about $5 million for paving. So again, you know, this kind of money that we're talking about tossing around, the numbers is significant. And, you know, I hope people understand that we're not doing some things, not because we don't want to, because we just can't. And when you look at revenue, if you're getting $2 million from government, well, where else do we get revenue? We get it from fees and permits, you know, and we get it from taxation. And you're sitting here as a councillor, of course, and, you know, and I'm sure the residents appreciate that we're trying to keep taxes down as well. So if you're trying to keep taxes down and at the same time your costs are going up and government not increasing their input, then that's not a good equation for sure. Mr. Chapman, how much are those valves each? $8,000 each. That's another $64,000. So, you know, it adds up, and I guess people can appreciate, because I know a lot of people in their own lives are struggling now with the cost of living, and it's sad to see, for sure. And we don't know where it's all going, but the municipality, unfortunately, is not immune to that either. Any other comments on the Public Works minutes? Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, I had gotten a call from Esmond Street, Mr. Chapman, there a few weeks ago, and they were discouraged by their water quality. I think we went down last week and did a significant amount of work there. Had a call last night thanking us, and the water has never been more clear on Esmond Street than it was yesterday. So they wanted to pass along their thanks to the town of Grand Falls-Windsor and the Public Works and Development Department for alleviating that issue for them. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see the water quality certainly improving, that's for sure. Okay, any other comments on the Public Works minutes? No other comments? We've got a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, Councillor Cody, we do have a resolution there.
Yes, resolution GFW 2024-389, revised Schedule A, multi-year capital works program. Whereas the town of Grand Falls-Windsor qualifies for funding under the provincial multi-year capital works program. Whereas all projects and funding allocation under these agreements must be approved through the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. And whereas the town of Grand Falls-Windsor has available funding remaining in the multi-year capital works program and has to reprofile funding. Therefore, be it resolved that the town of Grand Falls-Windsor agrees to reallocate funding under the multi-year capital works program to include Circular Road Waterline, Storm and Road Upgrades Phase 2. And I so move this resolution.
Okay, moved by Counselor Cody, seconded by Counselor Hiscock. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Resolution passed. Okay, next up is corporate services. Counselor Dwyer, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The following are the minutes from corporate services held 5 p.m. Thursday, April 25th, 2024. Present were myself as chair, Councilor Amy Cody, Councilor Dave Knoll, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councilors Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councilor Bob Hiscock, Councilor Andrew Little. Staff in attendance were Darren Finn, our CAO, Steve Goss, Director of Corporate Services, and Robert Hanford, Communications Officer. Labor report. The committee reviewed the labor costs as of week 16. Total labor was $1,025,957. This was $18,976, or 1.9% over budget. The committee is pleased to see the labor budget within 2% of the budget as the busy summer season approaches. The committee encourages management to continue monitoring the labor budget throughout the year. Disbursement report. The committee reviewed the disbursement report in the amount of $494,029.04 and recommends this be presented at the next council meeting. Taxation receivables analysis. The committee reviewed the taxation receivables analysis as of March 31st, 2024. The total tax receivables at March 31st, 2024 is $10,454,508 compared to $8,087,590 in 2023, an increase of 29%. March 31st fell on a Sunday this year, therefore a significant amount of taxes was received after the cutoff for this period, for this report. After reviewing the balances as of April 25th, it was noted that the increase was just over 4%, which falls in line with previous months. Staff noted that there is a staff meeting planned in the coming week to discuss the outstanding balances and determine a plan for the collection of arrears. The committee continues to closely monitor the tax receivables and encourages all residents and businesses to ensure they pay their outstanding balances as soon as possible or contact staff at the town hall to set up a payment plan. Interest is now accruing monthly on outstanding tax balances, so please act quickly to avoid additional interest charges. Open call for bids, project number 17-MYCW-24-00004. The committee reviewed the summary of an open call for bids for the engineering and planning of upgrades to the HVAC system at the Public Works Depot. There were 3 bidders on the project, and the lowest acceptable bid was from All North Consultants Limited in the amount of $75,655 plus HST. The bid is $11,785.90 under the proposed estimate for this portion of the overall project. The committee recommends awarding this project to All North Consultants Limited. The meeting adjourned at 6 p.m., and I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Counselor Dwyer, seconded by Counselor Little. Any discussion on the corporate services minutes? Counselor Dwyer and then Deputy Mayor. Sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Just with respect to the taxation receivables, just a little bit of extra detail, I guess. It seems like an increase of 29% is a lot with the receivables, and I'm sure that Mr. Goss was as surprised as anyone else when he read that report. But as was explained in the minutes, the end of March, the taxation period, March 31st, fell on a Sunday. And when they looked at Monday, it was in line. But it still is 4% over last year. And I guess because assessments are up from previous years, so are our taxation receivables, and our revenue is up obviously, and our receivables are up as well. But we have asked staff to put some extra emphasis on getting those receivables down because we don't want to see it increase anymore. Thank you.
No, well said. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. And with that, we got residents that are finding it difficult to pay their taxes, and we know there are. Not just our municipality, but any other municipality. The Mayor noted earlier that some people are in hard times. I encourage you to visit Mr. Goss at our Corporate Services Department and set up a payment plan and avoid a lot of interest for yourself as well. So we encourage all residents to do that. We'll make it work for you if it's at all reasonable. And so we look forward to seeing more people coming down and setting up a payment plan and getting rid of their arrears in taxes. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I should point out too, for people who may not know, there is an office dedicated for conversations of the like. So if you come down and you want to discuss a sensitive issue like your taxes, you're not doing it in front of other staff or other citizens. You will meet with Mr. Goss or another staff member to be able to go through, and we do, as we've said many times before, we do try our best to work with citizens to make sure that they're able to pay, but at the same time appreciate that the situation for some is not the best financially, and we certainly understand that, as Deputy Mayor said. Okay, any more comments on the corporate services minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Community services, we have two sets of minutes. We'll go with the long set first, I guess. Deputy Mayor, and you're up, please.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Community Services Committee met at 7 p.m. Thursday, April 25th, 2024. Those in attendance were myself as chair, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Andrew Little, Mayor Barry Manuel, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Bob Hiscock, and Councillor Dave Knowles. Staff in attendance, Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer, Robin Hannaford, our Communications Officer, and Todd Mercer, our Director of Community Services. First order of business was Canadian Heritage correspondence. The Director gave the committee an update on the funding application approval letter from Canadian Heritage to support the 2024 Canada Day celebrations. The funding will assist with financing the celebrations, including fireworks, entertainment, and prizes. Summer student update. The Director gave the committee an update on the summer student positions for the summer. The Director informed the committee that the town has received 10 federal summer student positions this year, up 3 from last year, but no approvals yet from the provincial government. Canvas correspondence. The committee reviewed a letter from Canvas looking for help to secure a location for their club. This room would be used to run and operate a safe place for art classes, art studio, meetings, and community gatherings. The committee recommends that the Director of Community Services sit with the group to work on a solution for space requirements and the costs associated to each partner. Community Services Special Events 2024 overview. The Director informed the committee that the Community Services Department has been working on the 2024 events. The Director informed the committee that the public will see the addition of several new events, concerts, and programs being rolled out, and that there will be something for everyone, and all events will be posted on the town's Facebook page. The committee recommends that the Salmon Festival schedule of events be announced and posted as soon as the final schedule is completed. Traction Central Impact Ice Request Correspondence. The committee reviewed a request from Central Impact on the availability of the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium on October 25th to the 27th weekend to host a provincial tournament. The committee discussed the positive economic impact this would have on the community and the great entertainment value for the fans early in the hockey season. The committee recommends that the Director of Community Services work with the Public Works and Development staff to make the ice available for that opening weekend. Spring cleanup update. The Director of Community Services informed the committee that all community groups have been scheduled for the annual community cleanup and are scheduled to start in the coming weeks. The committee advises the general public to be aware of the roadside cleaning and ensure driving safely by paying attention to the road. New business, Splash and Boots contest. The committee had some discussion on the new contest that is being generated by the popular kids performers Splash and Boots that has Grand Falls-Windsor as one of 3 places in Canada that will win the name of a song and a video shoot. The committee recommends that the communications officer promote the contest on a regular basis and encourage our citizens from near and far to vote. Ball hockey startup. The director informed the committee that both men's and youth ball hockey will start at the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium in the coming weeks and will run until the end of June. Stadium dressing room repairs. The committee had some discussion on the opportunity to update some of the stadium dressing rooms at both locations. The committee recommended that the Director of Community Services and the staff of the Public Works and Development Department meet to discuss options and present them at a later meeting. The meeting adjourned at 8:30 p.m. and I'll move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the first set of community services minutes? Councillor Knoll.
Just on the spring cleanup update, just remind the public, if you can, at any times when you're parked and you're pulling through a drive-through and you see the opportunity to do the right thing and pick up somebody else's garbage. I mean, like I said, I do it just about every morning while I pick up my couple of teas. But the students, they cleaned up Two-Let Drive a couple weeks ago, and you drive out now, and there's still fresh garbage, and I can't tell you how much it rots me to no extent. But can we do more as a public? We're all in this together. So whenever you get an opportunity to pick up a bit of garbage, yeah, it's probably not yours. It didn't fly out of your vehicle. But just ask everybody to take a minute to pick it up a little bit, because you never know when somebody's going to drive by and see a nice new clean community, Grand Falls-Windsor, and say, I think I'll move there, or maybe I'll set up shop, or tell my 2 friends about the beautiful community that we have. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, lots of things in our environment we can't control, but that's one simple thing that we could control.
Very much.
And we hope that people hear the message. Any other comments? Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor. It was mentioned in the minutes about the special events we have coming up going into the summer. We have a lot of great things coming, and our special events are always well attended and well received. Says a lot about the Director of Community Services and his department. A lot of great people working down there doing a lot of great things. We have 2 events coming up, the Nandies Night and Golden Girls. I believe both are sold out. Yep. Both are sold out. Like all our events, they all sell out because we do. Our staff does such a great job putting them off. So we encourage our citizens, of course, all summer to get out to all the events as much as possible and enjoy them. We offer a lot of free events throughout the summer, so hopefully there's something there for everyone. And our Salmon Festival announcement will hopefully be coming soon. I'm sure people are looking forward to that. And yes, that's everything.
Yeah, no, thank you. The bouncy castles will be in the playgrounds before long, and the Church Road Park will be sing-songing every Friday evening with a concert, and we look forward to it. Okay, any other comments on the community services? Deputy Mayor.
Just to come back to Councillor Knoll's comments on the spring cleanup. And our schedule is on our Facebook page, and all streets and avenues and roads in Grand Falls-Windsor will have the opportunity to put your spring cleanup garbage out for pickup from the town of Grand Falls-Windsor. However, there is a regulation that says you can't put it out until 48 hours before your day. So we ask people to try their best to abide by that rule. We've seen examples of spring cleanup materials out there now, actually, which is way ahead of time. The spring cleanup starts May 21st. And we just remind everybody to try and hold on to their materials until 48 hours before the town of Grand Falls-Windsor visits your neighborhood to pick up the refuse. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thanks. And I guess just to clarify for everybody, of course, that obviously give you a reminder of that, the spring cleanup, because we're talking about the groups here. So just to clarify it too, obviously spring cleanup, as Deputy Mayor said, coming up, as always, a popular event. And the other one, and just in case people haven't heard us say before, we get community groups, usually sports organizations or other youth organizations, and that they will take a grid square, I guess. So we'll grid the town out in squares, and they'll take a square or two, whatever, through Mr. Mercer and his staff, and in return, they'll get a small grant of $300, I think, $300. But for one evening's work for some of these groups, that's a good payback. And of course, that is also a good initiative for the town. Okay, any other comments on the first set of community services? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, for the second set of minutes, I'll excuse myself, and I'll ask the deputy mayor if he would just take care of this minute.
Okay, well, the minutes reflect that the mayor has left for this Community Services Committee minute, and I'll ask Councillor Little to read the minute, please.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Minutes for Community Services. The committee met 8:30 p.m. Thursday, April 25th, 2024. Present were Chairperson Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, members Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Andrew Little, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Dave Knoll, staff Darren Finn, Chief Administrative Officer, Robin Hanford, Communications Officer, and Todd Mercer, Director of Community Services. Exploits Nordic Ski Club correspondence. The committee reviewed a letter from the Exploits Nordic Ski Club requesting the use of the facility during summer months to run events and programs. The extra activities will be developed to help generate extra revenue for the club to help offset the shortened skiing season. The committee recommends allowing the Exploits Nordic Ski Club to operate during May to October, and that the Director of Community Services work with the club to ensure that it is available for any future town requirements. The meeting adjourned at 8:40 p.m. I move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Thank you, Councillor Little. We have a motion. Can I get a seconder? Councillor Hiscock, thank you very much. Any discussion with respect to the minute? Oh, sorry, Councillor
okay.
Cody. Go ahead.
I just wanted to correct, I wasn't in attendance for that meeting. I had to leave. I had my introduction to generative AI class started, so I had to leave before that minute was presented. And I'm not sure if I'm in favor of it, to tell you the truth. I'm disappointed that I missed a conversation, actually, because I know it was discussed previously. And there was some question as to whether or not we should allow it to happen. I know that we use that facility from May to October. Seems kind of lengthy, actually. So from usually in the off season, same with the baseball clubhouse, the soccer clubhouse, like our facilities like that. In their off season, we usually use those facilities for our town purposes, as they are town buildings. So we use them for programming. I know, like the graduation committee, they use the building sometimes for storage of grad decorations, things like that. Our sewing classes were happening at the baseball clubhouse, I think, or the soccer, one of them anyway, over soccer clubhouse over the spring and winter and fall. So I'm not sure about the length of time, May to October, especially, during spring months. It's like we just had our big eclipse event there as well. So, and those events, sometimes they happen fairly quickly with not a lot of planning or not a lot of notice or prep time. So I'm a little bit concerned that allowing this facility to be open from May to October may limit us in our abilities to be able to do some things that we may want to do, if there's scheduling conflicts and things like that. I don't know about the length of time that the ski club would need to plan. I would imagine they would be on short notice as well for notices, people asking if the building is available. So birthday parties or whatever it may be. So I really don't know at this point if I'm going to support this motion or not. We'll see if there's any other conversations that could sway me either way. But again, I'm just concerned that we might be putting ourselves at a disadvantage by allowing a building that we normally do keep for our own purposes in the off season to do the things that we need or want to do.
Okay, and I guess at that committee meeting, and we'll acknowledge that Councillor Coley missed the meeting. She had to attend a class, and we'll correct that in a minute. But the Nordic Ski Club, we're down to like 60 members this year. and their revenue generation was at an all-time low. In 2020 and 2021, they had 900 members, and now with respect to the poor winters, their revenue is down considerably. Obviously, they're missing 900 members. So that was the basis of the ask from the Nordic Ski Club, and certainly they're limited with respect to how much revenue they could generate at any time, and they're dependent on the weather in the winter to keep themselves afloat. And certainly the town of Grand Falls-Windsor is a big partner with the Exploits Nordic Ski Club as well. And the lack of revenue generation would come back to us at some point, I suspect, regardless of whether we rented the building or not. So that was just for information purposes for yourself, Councillor Cody, that was expressed to us by the Director of Community Services, Mr. Mercer, who had met with the Nordic Ski Club at just previous to that meeting.
Yeah, thanks for that information again. I just look at the competing factors as well, right? Like there's a lot of other community groups, private businesses that offer the same type of services that the clubhouse would also be offering. So, you know, there would be a competition aspect there as well. I understand that they're facing financial difficulty because of membership numbers, but allowing them to compete in the same field as private businesses and things like that would also affect their numbers and their availability, their ability to rent or maintain their current clientele and business opportunities. So again, I'm still weighing the options.
And I suspect that if the winters were normal winters, we wouldn't be here at all.
So, looking at this, it doesn't say just for 2024. It says from May to October. So I understand your concern with the length of time.
I should say, I guess the basis of the agreement is that it can be rented from Monday to Thursday only.
That's not included there either.
Is that the case, Mr. Mercer? I thought that's what we discussed at the meeting. Go ahead.
Two factors came into play in the discussion is that Corduroy Brook isn't available for anybody to use during the summer months, and the need for small professional space for meetings and small functions was a necessity in the community, and everybody has been reaching out to try to access that facility for that purpose. And so that was one of the considerations that we looked at. The second was the financial ability to try to generate revenue to help support their own requirements with their staff, and as well as equipment upgrades that they help to the town of Grand Falls-Windsor purchase, and also help to pay for the grooming of the trail. So without being able to operate it during the summer, would, as you said, would probably come back to us in a larger grant that we'd have to give. This year now we've decided not to operate our summer camp out of that building. It's actually going to be back to our basic routes, which will be in the playgrounds. And we're going to move around from playground to playground. So our need of that facility on a daily basis wasn't required. We have presented the Exploits Nordic Ski Club our list of dates that we need right now for the rest of the year. And so they're frozen and can't be rented. There are hours to use at those times. The one-offs that we don't know right now, if it's available, we get it. If it's not, then we do have another location that we could possibly use. And so that's why we said we'd try it and see if it'll work.
Okay. And yes, and we will try it, or I think we will. And we'll see where we are in a couple of months and see how often it's rented. And if there's just concern that we're competing with private business, well, we can shorten the length of time.
Yeah.
We don't have to go from May to October. We can do that at any time. Any more discussion on that? Mr. Finn, go ahead, sir.
I'll add that the the rental rates, like when we make it available, we won't be the intention wouldn't be to undercut the rental cost from another, so you couldn't get it cheaper than going to another facility. So, that was important. That's important to recognize. And also, like, I think it was the view of council, like all of our buildings, that they get maximum utilization. So the more they're built, and they're already paid for by the public, so the more utilization you get into any public space that we can make available to the public would be an objective of council anyway. So it's that philosophy and recognizing that it's the volunteers that run that building that will make it available to the public. So it's not actually town staff that are making it available. They're making it available to make their club viable, where they generate revenue, and they have to either volunteer their time or pay temporary or part-time staff to make it available when it gets booked. So it's a little bit of logistics for them, even when they make a commitment that they're going to rent it out or book it on a certain date, that they also have to make themselves available to be, to oversee that facility, which is a town-run facility, a town-owned facility, but run by the club.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Finn. Any more discussion on the minutes? We got a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We have one opposed. So the motion is carried. And we'll ask the mayor to come back in, and we'll continue on.
Okay. Move on to the Committee of the Whole. Deputy Mayor, you're up again.
Thank you, Mayor. Committee of the Whole met 5 p.m. Tuesday, April 30th, 2024. Those in attendance were Mayor Barry Emanuel, Deputy Mayor Mike Brown, Councillor Amy Cody, Councillor Holly Dwyer, Councillor Bob Hiscock, Councillor Dave Knoll. Staff in attendance: Darren Finn, our Chief Administrative Officer; Nelson Chapman, Director of Public Works and Development; Steve Goss, Director of Corporate Services; Todd Mercer, Director of Community Services; and Robin Hannaford, our Communications Officer. The first order of business was Towns and Local Service District Act. The committee discussed a recent presentation by the government regarding proposed changes to the Towns and Local Service District Act. The new act is expected to provide more autonomy and flexibility for municipalities. The committee recommends that staff and council members actively engage in discussions related to these changes during the upcoming M&L Symposium and provide updates to council as information emerges. Visit from residents of 43 Memorial Avenue. Residents requested a meeting to discuss noise disturbances in their neighbourhood. The committee recommends sending correspondence to an adjacent property and inform them about council's noise and nuisance regulations. Mill land discussions. Staff provided an update on discussions related to acquiring some of the mill lands from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure. The committee recommends continuing these discussions and conducting environmental testing along the road corridor in this area. Testing is expected to cost approximately $33,000 plus HST. Rezoning request in Queensway Ridgewood area. The committee supports the current and ongoing efforts to respond to increased housing demands and seeks to rezone lands in the Queensway Ridgewood area. The committee recommends referring these amendments to rezone land in this area back to the provincial government for their review, excluding environmentally sensitive zoned lands. Discretionary use request for childcare centre. The committee reviewed a proposal for a childcare centre to be developed in a current commercial neighbourhood zone on Cartwright Street. Under the Town of Grand Falls-Windsor Development Regulations 2022-20 to 2032, child care centres are not listed specifically as a permitted use. However, personal service is permitted within this zone. Under Section 3.6, Discretionary Consideration of Development Permit Applications, Council has the authority to interpret whether the use of child care centre would fit the use class of personal service. The committee recommends that personal service include the use of childcare centres and the proposed development be approved. A&D Company Dinner Theatre student positions. Concerns were raised about the shortage of student positions for the A&D Company Dinner Theatre production. Excuse me. The Dinner Theatre was expecting 10 students, but were provided funding for only 7. The committee recommends staff follow up to gather more information and report back at the next committee meeting. Paved shoulders on Grenfell Heights. Concerns were expressed about vehicles parking on paved shoulders obstructing pedestrians. The committee recommends installing signage in the area to prevent parking on paved shoulders. The meeting adjourned at 8 p.m. and I'll move the recommendations and report of this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor Knoll. Any discussion on the committee of the whole minutes? Councillor Knoll and then Councillor Cody.
Thank you, Mayor. Just with respect to the noise complaints, et cetera, there on Memorial Avenue, it was just saddened when we had that discussion. I really think that, today that, respect is missing amongst neighbors. I mean, you're in a close-knit section of town. I just think it's incumbent upon everybody to think of other people in their activities, whether late at night or early in the morning. We're all impacted by noise. And it's not just, in the immediate neighborhood, but sometimes the wind can carry noises. We got lots of people who work shift work, and we turnarounds, and people coming off, all sorts of reasons why they need a good night's sleep. We all know the value of it today, and so much research on it. But I just think that it was, sad that we still have to deal with that in today's society here in Grand Falls-Windsor. So I'd just like the people involved to think about their actions going forward. And I'd like to take a second just to speak about the discussion on Grenfell Heights and the paved shoulders. I'm living on Grenfell Heights. I see it all too frequently. Numbers of vehicles parked on what we would consider to be a sidewalk. If I were to take my pickup and drive down Memorial Avenue somewhere in my old hood area of Birch Street and park my pickup on the side of the sidewalk and block it off, somebody's going to drive by immediately and say, my gosh, who is this misfit that would park there? I mean, why would you there? And immediately phone in and get a ticket issued for the vehicle and have it towed. Grenfell Heights is a road and it serves the same purposes. But on Grenfell Heights, if you haven't been down there, I mean, there's a tremendous amount of pedestrian traffic. New moms, new dads are out there with their children in the carriages, et cetera. Tremendous number of joggers and walkers, bikers, and even more so today, a number of people who have mobility issues. They're driving their own little personal mobility vehicles with the flags back and forth. And they expect that side of the road to be cleared and not parked with, obstructed by vehicles. And then they have themselves to get out into the right of way on Grenfell Heights with risk of getting injured. So it's incumbent on people to understand the dynamic of Grenfell Heights. And even though it's a very long, straight road and sometimes the foot might sink a little bit, think about the other people from time to time and going forward. Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, no, thank you. And when that paved shoulder was done, extended as it was intended to do it for the purposes as same as the sidewalk. And one thing I noted in the committee meeting, and I think everybody would recognize who's familiar with Grenfell Heights, is that most properties on Grenfell Heights, I'd say 90+% at least, have room off the road to be able to park their vehicles. There's not tight parking. Some of the parking driveways are enough for 4 or 5 cars. And in addition, the frontage in front of these properties often is bigger as well. So there's still opportunity for people to park inside of the lane. And of course, we think that there's ample parking off the road as well. But pedestrian safety has to win out, because when you consider someone like the examples that Councillor Knoll had mentioned, going down that paved shoulder and they encounter a vehicle, well, they either got to go, take the stroller, come down over an embankment maybe on the right, or go out to where traffic is zinging back and forth. So certainly something I support, and I'm glad to do it, and I hope the residents will respect that and understand the rationale. Thank you. Councillor Cody.
Thank you. A bit of a contrarian this evening. On that point, the paved shoulders, I expressed some thoughts in the committee meeting on that. I mean, I respect the space for the pedestrians and people who are mobility impaired, using aids and things like that, to be able to safely pass. The way I look at it, though, you've got that paved shoulder with the line, so it, representing a sidewalk. However, that's a fairly large paved shoulder. Then you have there's a significant area of dirt road before you get to residents' properties as well. So even if when people are parking they're not parking just on that shoulder. They usually pull in onto the dirt. It's only probably a small portion of the vehicle that's on that paved section. Whereas in other areas of town where it's sidewalk, you can pull up against the sidewalk. You're not allowed to block the sidewalk, but you can't pull in on the other side of the sidewalk because that's bumping on greenbelt or people's properties. So I just feel that putting signs up there saying no parking on paved shoulders is a little bit misleading. Because a lot of people weren't parking on the paved shoulders like you would say no parking on a sidewalk. It's different in my opinion. I think the space is available so that I think what I would do is encourage people to pull in off the paved shoulder as much as possible onto the dirt, or park in the extended length driveways that are also available on Grenfell Heights. So that there is ample space for pedestrians and people using mobility aids and things to still safely be in that section. So I just don't want residents to be confused that, like we're saying, that yes, you can still park there as long as you pull in on the, the dirt section or whatever. So when they see the signs, no parking, I think that's confusing to residents. It's a little bit confusing to me, so, yeah.
Okay.
I just think the space is there.
Yeah, Councillor Knoll, go ahead.
Just to continue the discussion, I guess, the amount of dirt that's on the right-hand side of any of those streets is about 30 centimeters. So that, then you've either got a bank or it's a personal property. The fences come out quite often to the road itself. So to be inside of that, you really, on somebody else's property, and if you're on somebody's property, then it's just well pull in on the front lawn altogether and avoid that whole section of road. I mean, the impetus here is it's a road, vehicles are coming down. Just if I have something else in my road, if I'm driving down Burt Street, I have to stop, wait for the vehicles to come by this way, then I pull out into traffic. The sidewalk is there intended for people to be for safe mobility up and down Grenfell Heights. And again, we're always encouraging people to be out. So, I mean, their safety has to be tantamount. Anybody wants to park there, pull off into a driveway, as the mayor mentioned, most driveways there are massive. They're not driveways, they're runways. There's ample opportunity for people to get off the road. So I just think we need to get the signs up there and to make sure everybody's safe on the road. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on that or anything else? Deputy Mayor.
No, Mr. Mayor, you were there you were listed as chair for that meeting at the committee of the whole. I chaired it, so I'll ask Mr. Finn to correct that in a minute. Thank you.
No problem, sir. Okay, any other comments on the committee of the whole? Just quickly on the Towns and the Local Service Districts Act, won't get into in detail, but there is an act to replace the Municipalities Act of 1999 that has been talked about and lobbied for years, and it is not scheduled to come into effect yet. We're not sure. The anticipated start may be 2025, but there's still some discussion to be had. So, there are a lot of good things in that document that makes things easier on municipalities, but there's also a lot of things that gives great concern to municipalities. So I'm not sure if that draft document, it's going to be fairly accessible. So if you is there access to that? Do you know anywhere? Okay, so the CAO says it's online. You can go in and view that. So it's, it's not a quick read. There's a fair bit to it. but there is a lot of legislation that impacts the way councils operate. And some significant things. So we're you all go in and have a look. I'm sure we'll talk more about that in the future. And the mill lands continues to be on our minutes. And we certainly hope, because we've been trying for a long time, as we know, to get that piece of land to connect the roadways and to make sure that we have that right of way for ATVs and side-by-sides and snow machines, etc. So we look forward to something positive coming out of that. Anything else on the committee of the whole minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Motion carried. We do have a resolution there. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Dwyer, I think you have to excuse us for this.
Okay, this is a resolution before that.
Oh, is there?
Violation,
Okay,
violation notice regulation.
okay.
It's 3 in total.
So, you got me confused.
Right here.
I only got one resolution there.
Yeah, no, there's only one there, and the other 2 are on the desk.
Okay. We'll go ahead and,
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor, you can read that.
Resolution GFW 2024-388, violation regulations name change.
There's 3.
Whereas the Town Council of the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor may issue violation notices with respect to a failure to comply with the provision of the occupancy and maintenance regulations under the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000, or a provision of the following regulations enacted by the Town Council under the Municipalities Act 1999 or the Urban and Rural Planning Act 2000. Whereas the current name listed in the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor violation regulations is stated as the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor Development Regulations 2020 to 2030, and the new Town of Grand Falls, Windsor Development Regulations are 2022 to 2032. And whereas it is deemed appropriate to simplify and streamline the violation notice name for ease of reference and clarity. Therefore, be it resolved that the violation notice name in the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor violation regulations be changed from the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor Development Regulations 2020 to 2030 to the Town of Grand Falls, Windsor Development Regulations. And I propose the resolution, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, it's been proposed by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the resolution? No, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary-minded? Resolution passed. Okay, so we do have more resolutions. I saw something on this here. These resolutions are to be introduced and voted on following the Cal meeting minutes. And I looked at the agenda and the Cal minutes, and then there was the resolution. So I think it was an easy mistake to make. So we will proceed with these 2 resolutions, and now I understand that Councillor Dwyer and Deputy Mayor will excuse us while we deal with these. And in their absence, Councillor Cody, I'll ask you if you would read those into the record, one at a time.
Sure. Resolution GFW 2024-390, dismissal of Code of Conduct complaint against Respondent 1 and Respondent 2. Whereas a complaint was lodged by citizen concerning the travel expenses claimed by Respondent 1 and Respondent 2 during the M&L 2023 conference. Whereas the staff on behalf of council conducted a review of the travel expense claims and found that the actions of these municipal officials were in full compliance with established policies and procedures. Be it resolved that the Council of Grand Falls, Windsor, recognizing the adherence to policy, hereby dismisses the complaint against them and affirms their actions as compliant with the town's code of conduct. And I move acceptance of this resolution.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Noel. Any discussion on the first resolution? Hearing none, let's comment there quickly, I guess. I mean, this is something that is new in my time on council. And, you know, I can't get into the entire situation, but relatively what it boils down to, just to give people an understanding of what this complaint was. In Councillor Dwyer's situation, she was at a municipalities conference for 3 or 4 days where she attended, 7 or 8 different sessions in professional development, of course. And as part of those conferences, they usually have a gala on Saturday night. So they have a nice dinner and they'll have, awards or dance or whatever, live music, that sort of thing. Councillor Dwyer chose not to go to that, which obviously is within her right. And but the complaint stems from the fact that Councillor Dwyer claimed her $25 supper stipend when there was a meal provided by M&L that she should have went to. That's what's being alleged.
Both councillors.
Deputy Mayor was the same on that count? Okay, my apologies. So both Deputy Mayor and Councillor Dwyer. So, council has a policy, as do most other councils and businesses and government and corporations, where, you go and you got an expense. Yes, if you have a lunch or a supper somewhere, you wouldn't claim it. But in this case, you can't force people to eat the M&L food. And I don't know. So anyhow, that's just a little explanation, and is well within the town policy for that. Councilors, when they go on a conference like that, per day, there's a $55 expense. So you get $12 for breakfast, you get 18 for lunch, and 25 for supper. So if you know anywhere in St. John's or anywhere like that you can get breakfast, dinner, and supper for $55, let me know. And, I'm not trying to make light of it, because we do take these things seriously, but at the same time, when you look at, in this case, where they chose not to go to the gala, I've done that many times in the past, and instead they ate wherever, and they claimed their $25. That's what this complaint is. Okay? So we do have a mover and a seconder. Any other comments? No? All those in favor? And contramind. Resolution passed. Now, the second one. Is this just for the second council, right? Right.
So we invite Councillor Dwyer back in.
No, we're going to leave 2 of them out, I think, just because one could have stayed for the last one, I guess, technically, right?
No, they both would have been.
And just on that point, like, when people excuse themselves from anything in council, they don't have to leave the room. We do that as a normal practice here. It's always been done, but technically, as long as I get out or whoever goes out over there and saw it or goes back in the gallery, we're well within our right to stay in here. So just want to make sure that people understand that. Go ahead.
Resolution GFW 2024-391, dismissal of code of conduct complaint against a respondent. Whereas a complaint was filed by the complainant on March 17th, 2024, alleging the respondent breached the town's code of conduct policy by claiming an expense for a lunch meeting with the witness on October 18th, 2023. And whereas the complaint was investigated, including a review of related policies, and whereas the investigation found that the expense was in accordance with the town travel policy and normal business practices, and the meeting was held to discuss town business. Be it resolved that the Council of Grand Falls-Windsor dismisses the complaint against the respondent as unfounded and concludes that no further action shall be taken in this matter. And I move acceptance of that resolution.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Hiscock. Any comments on the second resolution? Now, that one, just to clarify, is a little different, because just want to make sure that I'm fully transparent here. This one has to do with Deputy Mayor having a lunch meeting with the CAO at the local establishment, Mount Peyton, I think. It's not something we do very often, really, but there are times, and everybody's busy schedule and everything else, that it's a lunch meeting. Like, again, as standard practice in a lot of places. So this complaint alleges that that meeting shouldn't have happened, basically. That should have happened in the town manager's office or at town hall, or, I don't know, in someone's living room or something. So, and again, you know, when it comes to these complaints, again, this is new, but I suspect not the last of what we'll hear of it. And our staff had to go through a lot of work to investigate and to stack up paper for everybody to read through and to decide whether or not this was a violation of the code of conduct. And the complaint from the legislation alleges that the councillor is trying to enrich themselves by doing that. So, you know, our expenses, whatever, conferences, all that stuff is, anybody wants to see mine, they can see it anytime. I've been here 10 years. I went through it the other day for the first time, and I haven't spent that much over 10 years, I'm happy to say. But there is regular business that does need to be attended to at times, and I'm sure most people would understand that. So a lot longer than I wanted to talk on that, but I assume both resolutions were the same, just for different councillors. But when I understood the second one is a different one, I wanted to clarify both. Okay, any other comments? We have mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Resolution passed. Okay, we will move on now and ask if there's any notice of motion. No notice of motion. Other business. I wonder who's up first tonight. Councillor Cody? Councillor Cody, you're up.
I skipped twice, so I'm taking it. So I do have a couple of things, and a couple of things were mentioned previously, but I do want to mention them again. The spring cleanup, May 21st to June 7th, that's the roadside cleanup. The schedule was circulated in mailboxes. I think I got mine, what's this, Tuesday? I think mine was in my mailbox last week when I got home anyway. So that's scheduled, so check your mailboxes, your flyers and whatnot in case you might have missed it. The full schedule is in there. All the streets are listed on what day. Again, a reminder that 48 hours prior to the day of pickup is when we want you, or, well, we don't want you to put it out prior to 48 hours before your pickup day. So please, if you could adhere to that, we would certainly appreciate that. Again, sometimes we go, you know, we get behind schedule or whatever, so you don't have to bring it in and put it back out again or anything like that. And sometimes we go and we'll pick up like wood products or metal products or large items and then come back around again. So sometimes you'll notice some things are missing and then you're worried that, was I in violation? Should I not have had certain things out? But no, that's not the case. We're taking pretty well everything. So we'll just work our way back around again. And sometimes they're early. That's another thing too. Sometimes we're early and we'll go pick up certain items just to kind of get ahead of things. And then people panic and think they missed their day. But no, your day will be your day or after. But just to try to be efficient, we might mix it up a bit, just to keep things interesting. If you follow our social media, our Facebook page, we got a new toy this week, a $700,000 toy, a new vac truck, which clearly is not a toy, but it's nice and bright and shiny and looks really, really good, and it's going to look even better when we get the town brands on it, right, Director? But it's our new vac truck, sanitary sewer flushing, cleaning out maintenance holes, catch basins, installation of underground utilities like lamp poles, road signs. It can assist with excavation and water and sewer projects. So like not only does it clean out the sewers, it does a whole bunch of other things and will make our work much more efficient, and our crews will be more efficient in using this vehicle as well. And all waste materials collected by that truck do get disposed of at our waste treatment facility, so I wanted to make that clear. So again, it's a wonderful new vehicle. You know, we wanted to promote it and show it because it's where our tax dollars are going. Again, we talked about money tonight and the cost of everything. $700,000 for a vac truck. So again, a key piece of equipment that's going to help streamline our work. And again, it's an important purchase for our community. The Queen Street Dinner Theatre, and I'm sorry, Councillor Little, if I'm jumping on your toes, but the additions are happening May 15th and 16th, so next week at 7:30, and they're going to be at 19 King Street at Jim's Value Grocer Building. So anybody interested in auditioning to be a member of the Queen Street Dinner Theatre this summer, May 15th and 16th, and details of their shows and show times and everything, as well as audition times, are on the Queen Street Dinner Theatre website. And the last thing I have tonight, again, is just to talk about Municipal Awareness Week. So on our social media page, we're featuring videos on council, on areas of the town, our facilities, throughout the week. There's a new post every week. We have a coloring contest for ages 4 to 12. Ages 13 and 15, you can write a poem and submit to the town. There's a photo contest happening as well. So I would encourage our residents to get involved in Municipal Awareness Week. It's an important week. We never talk about ourselves like we should. Some people probably disagree with that, but I'm not too proud to do it again anyway. Because I know the amount of time that we put in around this table and the amount of work that we do and the amount of work that councillors do right across the province, because I see it all the time in my role with MNL as well. So, you know, we do great work and we're busy and we do the best with what we have, and it's not easy. It's hard. It's very hard some days. So I want to thank all of my councillors around the table, Mayor and Deputy Mayor, for being so easy to work with, because sometimes councillors aren't so easy to work with either. Sometimes there's disagreements that happen. But we're very fortunate.
We got disagreements.
Understand.
Let's make that clear.
Well, it's a prime example of 2 counts tonight. So, but yeah, you know, it's tough work and it's stressful work, and which leads to some of the disagreements sometimes. Because you're trying to do the best and everybody's got an opinion and you want to do the best for your community, and sometimes you got to argue about it to come up with the best solution. So thank you to all councillors in the province actually, and just, you know, to our residents. Thanks for supporting us, and you know, when you see not just council, but also our staff doing the work, maintaining our facilities and, you know, cleaning our streets and buying new vac trucks, then, you know, just remember, it's hard work, but we love what we do. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Cody, because we know that you spend even more time in your role as the MNL chairperson. So, you know full well what it takes, and then some. Councillor Noel.
Mayor, a couple of items this evening. First of all, I apologize if I sound a little Grover-esque for those of us who remember the days on Sesame Street, but it's been a rough week, to say the least. Being you know, Heart Failure Week, just take a second. If anybody's ever met an organ donor, and I've known several over the years, and lost a friend of mine not too long ago who was a double organ recipient, but you know, it's an easy thing. If you're sitting home this evening and saying, "Oh, how can I make a change? How can I do something positive?" On your driver's license, there's a little tiny, I'm hoping there's a little tiny red heart. And I'm down to school all the time, and the kids are saying, "I'm going for my test." I remind them about the organ donation. And I've, you know, encouraged them. I hope that you never get to cash this card in, but you never know. And you'll get 800,000 people waiting, or, you know, suffering from heart failure here in Canada. And some of them are on an hourly basis. I mean, you know, they need a heart yesterday. And I just think, personally speaking, it should be the default from the government that everybody is an organ donor. That's just my stance on it. But if you're not an organ donor, and you're thinking about it this evening, just drop into your government service center. You can get your license changed and have an organ donor registration again. So should we have an early exit, to be polite, how we want to discuss it, organs, people need them, and it's really greedy to me just to, if you're deceased, and take them in the ground. So think about that going forward. Another week is National Composting Week, and if you go down on the front seat of my truck now, you'll probably see about 100 Keurig pods, right? And the staff says, "What are you doing now?" No, don't ask, right? But so to me, it's just a mindless activity. It won't bother me, and I scrape out all the coffee grounds and I put them over a little orchard I got going there in Gravel Heights. I just wondered, but it was an opportunity for us to do a little bit more, and I'm always thinking, if businesses or retailers who have a tremendous amount of these coffee grounds, and we all know what we're talking about, have to pay to have those transported to a waste facility somewhere like North Arm, wouldn't it be of an economical advantage if they could drop them off perhaps at like a more local site, like a Saturday drop-off sort of kind of place? And we had a huge, massive compost that people could avail of here in Grand Falls-Windsor free of charge. I just think it'd be a fabulous event, and perhaps something that we could work towards in the near future. Spring is out, beautiful night tonight. I'm so pleased driving down the road again this evening. I've seen a few basketball nets out, but they're on people's lawns. They weren't out into the road, they weren't on the sidewalks, and kids were bouncing the balls around, but the nets were in on the people's properties. So again, going with the movement of mobility for people on sidewalks. I'm hoping that this year we haven't got to go around and rap on doors or send MEOs out to go speak to homeowners about keeping your basketball nets in on your property, not out on the sidewalk, not in the middle of the road. Don't plank the big cinder blocks on them and leave them as seasonal structures all summer long, right? Think about other people when you're going down through. And I got to open my phone for the last one, Mayor. Down to high school, we got so many tremendous youth, young adults down there. It's hard to keep track of them all. I just wanted to take a second to mention a couple. Our drama club was in Cornwall the weekend for a provincial drama festival, and they came away with a level of distinction, which is like way up there. And you see the kids down there, and they're all standing around the pictures of the main foyer. What this has done for school culture at Exploits Valley High is tremendous. So I just want to thank the teachers involved in developing the drama festival, participants at Exploits Valley High. This goes a long way. And Saturday, it might have been very, very cold, and someone I know was very, very sick, but we were out, and thanks Councillor Hiscock for participating, bailing me out. We had a lot of students out at the Grand Falls House. It was it was a rotten day. I depended on the forecast and lost again, right? Waiting for the sun to shine, didn't happen. But they were there and they were cheery. Those that were dressed, a few had to leave because they were frozen. But just again, tremendous opportunity for the kids. They want to get involved, right? If you can think of some way of getting some students involved, we kind of got some community contribution. I was at them up. We raked a lot of debris. There's still a lot to go, and of course, it was all accolades about Flipper flipping the burgers, and the burgers were delicious. So thanks again, right? It went so well, right? Oh, hey, we got a lot of mileage out of that one. My last little note I wanted to say is every high school in Canada is allowed to nominate one student in the graduating class for the Schulich Leadership Award. Excuse me. It says this is an award that recognizes excellent students planning to enroll in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Students enrolling in engineering specifically have an opportunity to win $120,000, receiving 30-year to 4 years for 4 years of studies. Students enrolling in technology, science, and math have an opportunity to win $100,000, right? It says the students selected for each year, nominated based on their outstanding resume, academic excellence, tantamount. They have to search for students that are highly involved in leadership, the school, and the community, very, very entrepreneurial-minded. Says this year, our high school, there was the voice. Exploits Valley High nominated next week female student graduating this year. This student plans on studying science at the University of British Columbia, one of the engineering fields, starting in September. And we were delighted last week to learn that our very own Jenna Hamilton was successful in receiving the Schulich Award at a value of $100,000. Right? So Mom and Dad, Terry and Peggy are astounded, and we at the family at Exwith Valley, I just want to say, congratulations on such a prestigious award. I want to give her a shout out. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. No, I'm very familiar with Jenna. She worked at Corduroy Brook, of course, and as a summer student, and she is certainly exceptional and very, very astute for sure. One thing I remember, because the Hamiltons, her family lived in the Bahamas, I believe, for 5 or 6 years. Now they're back home for a couple of years. But first, when they were getting ready to come home, Jenna had sent an application for employment ahead. Now, she was only in grade 10, I guess, at the time. And reading her resume and seeing what she had done as a grade 10 there, had a program where they were gathering clothing to send to places in the world to help people out, and there was just a long list of commendable things. So I'm glad you mentioned Jenna, because she's also a very nice person, right? I mean, she's a great person, so we're happy that she got that, and I'm sure she got lots of good things ahead of her. Councillor Hiscock.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items. First off, it's ATV season's upon us once again, and we're just asking the ATV riders to be, cognizant of the rules and regulations of the road, and also, if I may say to the parents of some of the younger people on these dirt bikes and quads, that they must be 16, have insurance and registered vehicle on the road, right? So we ask them to be very careful of what they're doing, to be respectful of all rules and regulations. Also, of course, with the ATVs in the summer comes motorcycles. And we're asking, of course, the drivers, the motor vehicles, to be very cognizant of motorcycles. After all, winter, they're not quite used to seeing a motorcycle approach them or whatever. So I'm asking people to be very careful of what's going on. Also, Mayor, we spoke earlier about municipalities and that, and our workers and everything. And I want the residents to be cognizant. When we have a complaint or we want to bring something forward to our people at the depot or even downstairs in our hall here, to be respectful. Our employees do a fabulous job. They really, really do. Sometimes in very trying times and very trying conditions, we're trying to do our best. But when you make a phone call or you're speaking to them personally, please be respectful. I mean, these people are doing the best they can. And I would ask people not to be abusive, because we as a municipality, we as a council, will not tolerate people verbally, God forbid, physically abusing any of our employees for any reason. There's absolutely no reason for that, right? Also, Mr. Mayor, we lost, since our last meeting, April 23rd, we lost, I think she was the oldest resident of Grand Falls-Windsor, Mrs. Banfield. She was 100 years old. She would have been 101 on her birthday in July. Just a sweet lady, and condolences go out to her family on the loss of just a wonderful, wonderful lady. Also, Mr. Mayor, if I may, concert at Holy Trinity Church Thursday. It's under the directorship of Charlotte Carey. Charlotte's just a great musician and musically talented person in our town. And there's a big lineup of entertainment. It's free for anybody to come. It's just a goodwill offering if you wish afterwards. It starts at 7, and there's refreshments and snacks and that afterwards. But it should be a great, great night. Thank you, Mayor.
Sounds good. Thank you, Councillor Hiscock. Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor. There seems to be an alarming trend in our community that motorists are failing to yield or stop for pedestrians in our town, and it's getting worse as summer season comes upon us. So our MEOs will be looking for that going forward, from what I'm told, and hopefully that comes to an end and people become more courteous while they're driving, and hopefully become more aware of people around them. There's a lot of children moving around now, a lot of people with dogs. Nice days are coming, so there's more people walking across roads and on roads. So hopefully people are more aware of that and nothing terrible happens or no one ends up with a ticket. The only other thing I have is we've discussed our accessibility committee a couple times now in our public meetings. They've already seemingly made a difference in our community. A business they identified that wasn't accessible enough was notified that they weren't accessible. They weren't aware. It was Riff's clothing store. They weren't aware and immediately made strides to change that and become more accessible. So it's commendable for Riffs to take that action so quickly, but it was also really good that that committee made that recommendation, so that happened. And the person that came, one of the people that came forward with that suggestion was very pleased that it happened so quickly. So it's nice to highlight business when they do the right things like Riffs in this situation. Hopefully more businesses will do the same in the future.
For sure. Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you. Couple of things. I had the honor, I guess, you could say honor, of putting smiles on cookies this past week. Hard work. Be kind to your retail service workers. But Terry Lynn Olford and I volunteered for a couple of hours, and it was a great experience. I'm glad we were able to do that. Community Advisory Committee meeting. We met since our last council meeting, and just for anyone who's unaware, the Community Advisory Committee is a group of volunteers from Grand Falls-Windsor who meet. There are representatives there from Central Health, from the community. Rose Bungie is the chair. Cecilia Oxford, or Hickey, is there. Tanya Leto, Joan Horwood, some names that we're quite familiar with. Karen Beresford is on the committee as well, along with others. And we meet and discuss things that are pertinent to Grand Falls-Windsor. And so this is something that Newfoundland Health Services Central Zone has put together. It's not something that we came up with, but there's a council representative on the advisory committee. So last meeting we spoke about family care teams. We talked about, so we had some operational updates from Newfoundland Health Services. We talked about the residency program forum, which had happened the day before and was very successful, and there's some things coming out of that as well. But I just wanted to advise people about the Community Advisory Committee and what they do, and thank them for the work that they do. We have a site visit arranged for a pediatrician who is new to Grand Falls-Windsor. That will be happening very soon. I know Stan is going to do that. This is Nurses Week. And as everyone knows, we have the nursing program, Memorial's nursing program here now, and a lot of the nursing students are finished for their semester, and they'll be working as nurse collegians in the hospital, long-term care facility, Carmelite. So that is great that we have that program here, because it will provide some relief for some of the nurses that we have here as well. Councillor Little talked about our accessibility committee, and we talked before about how we've adopted a comprehensive accessibility plan and formed an accessibility board with members who have disabilities and have lived experiences with people with disabilities. And the town is dedicated to eliminating barriers and increasing access to residents and visitors in the town of Grand Falls-Windsor. Councillor Little spoke about some businesses that are coming on board and making necessary changes to reduce barriers, which is absolutely wonderful. We sent some letters out to a lot of businesses in the community, just so everyone is aware. Not only about physical accessibility, which is one of the changes that was made in that business, but also about facilities, washrooms and otherwise, communication, like with signs and how messages are presented to people who might have visible vision disabilities, I guess I should say, and hearing disabilities as well. But also about customer service. It doesn't necessarily have to cost a business to make changes, like just making their staff aware that, if you see somebody with a disability, that you might be able to offer assistance. And those things don't cost anything, but it does take some effort to train your employees about some differences that you could make. And also allowing feedback from customers and people who are availing of your services, so that you can make necessary changes that might make a difference in the lives of people who have disabilities. That's everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, just a couple of items here. First of all, we got a lady in Grand Falls-Windsor celebrating her 95th birthday today, and Mrs. Doris Caravan. And so happy birthday to Mrs. Caravan. When myself and Councillor Hiscock were up to the Kingsway Living today and gave her town birthday card. Great crowd on hand, music and friends and lots of food. So have a great day, Mrs. Caravan. Also, the annual general meeting of the Grand Falls House Foundation is coming up on June 5th at the Corjoy Book Enhancement Association building. Anybody interested is welcome to attend, but you have to register to attend, and the information to register is on our town Facebook page. So just go there and you can register if you like. And I would ask, I ran into a gentleman shopping Sunday morning, and he asked me the status of the former Rifts building on Main Street. So, Mr. Finn, can you tell us where we are with that building? Because it is certainly dilapidated. Is it an eyesore? It was bad enough in the first place. And then we had that big windstorm there, I think it was last spring, and ripped one side off the building. So, what? 33.3%. Yes, Councillor Cody said they ripped 33.3% off the building, the wind did, but that's good. But where are we with that building now, Mr. Finn?
I know that's been going on some time, and sorry to butt in there, and I know Mr. Chapman may be able to speak to this too, because I know when that had happened, the windstorm, that I made contact at the time through discussion with residents about the same thing, and that was quite a while ago now, but I know that we have been in contact with the owner of the property, and the owner of the property has assured us that they're going to do something, but I don't see any activity. So I don't know if there's been any updates on that, and again, sorry to CAO if you got anything to add to that, but I know we've been talking to the owner to ask to have it, and he did indicate there was going to be work done.
Yes, there has been.
But there hasn't been.
There has been communication with him, with the owner as recent as the fall, and with a commitment that he would revisit the building in the spring. So we expect get some information from him in June would be what I think is our expectation. So we've had regular contact with him, obviously expecting that he wouldn't do anything over the winter, but we expect something to happen this summer, or we'll have to consider other options.
Yeah,
The
the owner
council
lives
has
outside the province, right?
Yeah, in Ontario.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
we haven't been able to meet there with them, but,
Yeah.
Deputy Mayor's point about this, we'd like to see some action, so if there's
Yeah,
nothing.
it's in poor
soon.
repair, and it does need some maintenance, because it's largely an eyesore, and it shouldn't be, and our regulations don't allow it, so we have to address it.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Finn. And it is an eyesore. It was an eyesore before the windstorm, and it's certainly bad out there now. And we should impress on the owner to, as much as we can, or possibly legally can, to we need something done with that building,
Yeah.
and it's deplorable. And to leave it there for another full summer is just
I think
unacceptable, in my opinion.
I think the owner has good intentions, and hopefully we'll proceed with a business plan to make it a viable property for themselves.
Okay, and we look forward to an update on that in the coming.
Yeah, and when it comes to
Weeks.
that too, Deputy Mayor, I mean, not to make this into a big conversation or anything, but as we know, we always try to do this with,
Cooperation.
kindness and cooperation, because, as we said before, the hard-handed approach, there are so many obstacles in the legislation that allows people to be able to drag out the process anyhow. If they don't want to do anything, they'll appeal, they'll, take their time, whatever the case may be. So I think this is a case where we got a favorable response, and hopefully he understands that there is urgency now to get it done. Because when we start talking about demolition orders and that sort of thing, have I seen one? I think I saw one executed in 10 years maybe.
One
Two?
reason-
2 in 10 years. So, we don't want to get there, but at the same time.
It's not a statistic you want to run up.
No, it's not a statistic you want to run up at all, but at the same time, as Deputy Mayor said, and I agree with him, I'm sure everybody else does too, wholeheartedly, that it is an eyesore that's been there way too long and
Yep.
needs to be addressed. Sorry, Deputy Mayor, go
No,
ahead.
that's good, it's all good. No, I'm glad we had that discussion because I think it's important.
Yep.
And finally, the big series is over. The
Are you
Toronto Maple
done?
Leafs.
Are you done?
No, I'm not done. The big series is over. The Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins ended last Saturday night in a Boston victory. Probably one of the greatest series, and certainly in recent memory. All the games were 1-goal games, 2-goal games, and went right down to the wire. Game 7 in overtime. A bounce here or a bounce there. The Bruins got the bounce, didn't they, Mr. Mayor?
They did. They always do. They always do.
And I was very pleased with that. But a great series, and you know, there's nothing I'd love more than the Toronto Maple Leafs to win the Stanley Cup for their fans. They haven't won one since 1967, and but just not at the Bruins' expense. It was what we saw today. So to Mr. Goss and to Councillor Little, who are diehard Leafs fans, we'll see what happens next year. And even Councillor Cody started to after years of talking about the Boston Bruins and getting one of these from her, and
You were sweating, though.
oh, I was, pacing the floor. But it's good, and it was the whole community was involved in that series, and it was wherever you went, that was the talk of the town and that kind of stuff. And so anyway, God loved the Boston Bruins, and we continue our victorious ways after defeating Florida last night 5-1. In case somebody missed it.
Thank you. Okay, I just got a couple things there I want to bring up. Tomorrow is McHappy Day, and if anybody wants to go by McDonald's, and the support goes to Ronald McDonald House, and also the Health Foundation Radiothon is tomorrow as well at the Exploits Valley Mall, I think near the Source store. But it is a radiothon. It'll be on local channels, and you can make a donation to, I'm not sure what piece of equipment they're raising money for this year. Can anybody say? South Central Health. But, every year they specify a particular piece of equipment that they're trying to raise money for. So let's make sure we support that. Just quickly, we had the Stewardship Association of Municipalities Conference here a couple of weeks ago. Myself and Councillor Hiscock were there, and I just wanted to thank our staff again for a great job that they did. The people who were here for the conference from a lot of other municipalities around were really blown away by the live entertainment that we had, the good poutine that was on hand, and the hospitality all around. So again, thanks to staff for doing that, and I think it certainly looks good on our town when we do that. And finally, Sunday coming up, don't forget, it's Mother's Day. So happy Mother's Day in advance to all the mothers out there. And the Radiothon supporting cardiac care in South Central. So there you have it. And it's funny, we talked about the heart care and that tonight, so it all runs together, and be generous if you can be. But happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers out there like mine, who's living at Hollett's these days and enjoying it. And I'm sure everybody will be getting together if they can with their moms and enjoying a good day, and hopefully wining and dining them and making them feel very special. So on that note, I will call for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Hiscock, second by Councillor Cody. All those in favor? Aye. See you next time.